Welcome to the Cabrera Lab Podcast. Hey.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm awesome.
Nice.
It's going to be an awesome day.
It's going to be an awesome day.
It's like everything is awesome. All right. We have some cool stuff to talk about.
Yeah?
If you remember, there were a series of things we did around vision, mission, capacity, learning, and culture.
Yes.
One of the things about culture that we didn't get time in the last episode to talk about is a culture code. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, first of all, culture code, what it is, why we have it, and then we can start talking about ours in a series of podcasts, which will be fun.
Yeah, so culture, remember, we've talked about this a little bit before, but culture is essentially shared mental models. So a mental model which is shared by the agents. We call them agents because an agent could be, a person, a group, a division, whatever, at whatever level that you're talking about in some kind of organization of any kind. So it could be family members in a family. Those are agents. So agents is just a generic term that we use in complexity for whatever the individual thing with agency is. Right. So it's important to understand culture is just a mental model that's shared by those folks. Remember, individual learning is a change in mental model.
Yes.
And organizational learning is simply a change in mental model shared by people. So the change. So the only difference between culture and organizational learning is that it's a change going from one mental model to another, whereas culture is just there's a mental model that is shared, right?
Right.
Well, and remember that a mental model is made up of I/O, which I'm actually wearing the shirt today. Crazy. That was not on purpose.
But so it happened.
Which is information and organization, and the O is D, S, R, and P structure. So that's kind of an overview of getting us to what exactly do we mean when we say culture. We mean shared mental models among a bunch of people.
Yes, and I think one of the things that these equations highlight, and something that we've talked about a lot, is I think a lot of people believe culture just happens.
Yes.
Which it does.
It does.
There is a culture.
Yep.
But that you have the ability to shape that culture with purpose
100%.
Through communicating the desired mental models that you want to be shared.
Yeah, I mean, good marketing is just building culture, right? You're just you're just repetitively throwing mental models at people until they adopt them. Sometimes without even meaning to, like we see this in the processed foods industry and things like that, right? Which we've been talking about a lot lately. So when we talk about culture, we're talking about any and all mental models that start with, for example, the most important mental models, which is vision, mission, capacity, and learning of the organization. Mm. But it includes those mental models as well as many other mental models.
Yes.
And so when we talk about the culture code, we're kind of isolating one part of culture, one set of mental models, which for us and our organization really gets at this idea that competency of the individuals is predicated on character.
Yes.
And so our culture code mostly focuses on what we would typically call character. What is the character of people? Mm-hmm. In our organization. So the culture code is not the same as the culture. That's the important point.
Yes, it's a manifestation.
It's one part of the culture. Mm-hmm. The culture is universally all the mental models that are shared. Some are maladaptive, some are adaptive, some are good, some are bad. And what you want to do as a leader is make sure that the most important mental models are shared.
Yes.
And that if you start to see emergent mental models that are kind of going in the wrong direction or maladaptive, then you try to correct the culture in that way. That's very different from, I think, a lot of people's understanding of culture, which is kind of like, what you're wearing and how you dress and all these outward manifestations of culture.
Superficial things.
Yeah, they're sort of superficial. Superficial is the same, but it has negative connotations. I think of those as surface level or superficial.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not that they're unimportant. The swag that you wear is a manifestation of your culture, but it's not the same as the underlying model that or mental model that kind of drives the swag, right? So the reason that the swag means something is because there's a mental model that gives it meaning.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just, emblazoned things on shirts, right? And it has no meaning whatsoever. Right. You don't want to mistake the culture of an organization to be the outward manifestations of things. You want to understand that there's these underlying mental models that are driving those outward manifestations.
When I think about it as sort of shared mindsets or beliefs or values even fall under culture code that the team or the group share.
Yep.
And it in many ways directs their work. It directs how they interact with each other. It directs how they interact with their customers. Yep. So it's it's those central tenets that you hold near and dear.
And all those words you just used, tenets, beliefs, mindsets, values, principles, values, whatever, those are all just different words for mental models.
Yes.
Like all of those are mental models. They have different sort of dimensions to them, but they're all simply mental models. And culture fundamentally is about the mental models that are shared among the people.
Right.
That's what culture is. And I think what we're going to share today is our particular culture code, because people have been asking about it, I guess.
Yeah, we reference it a lot.
And again, that culture code is more along the lines of the things that we do to develop character, which we think leads to competency in various ways. And these are a list of little meaty mental models that I sometimes call sliders.
Yes.
Because a slider is like a little baby burger. So these are meaty mental models that are pretty important, that I've collected over a lifetime. I mean, they're things that I've been collecting since I was 15 or something like that.
Yeah, but they are foundational to how we think about things as a group.
Yes, and they're things you can practice, and they're things you can get better at.
I would also say, in my mind, they are a true manifestation of our word professional.
Yeah.
Because they guide our work, but they also, because they're about character and how your character shows up in professional settings and personal settings, they become intertwined.
Totally.
They apply to both very well.
The other thing I would say about them, about this particular culture code, again, just to give people a sense of like what these things are all about, is they're incredibly modular. They're like they're kind of like Legos. They're not. You don't have to learn them in order. Some people will be really good at some of them and not so good at others, and so it's like things you need to develop and things you're really good at. And some people will be really drawn to certain ones and need help with others.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, hey, this is a panoply of things that we should all be good at.
And work on.
Yeah. And if you're not good at it, then practice it. Make it a part of your practice.
Well, what you just said also, I think one of the keys to the success of something like a culture code is complete transparency.
Yeah.
Just communicating them often, communicating that there's a lot, there's a bunch of them, and you need to work on the ones you're not as strong on, and you've probably mastered most of them already.
Yeah, and these things come up throughout the day or throughout the week or throughout the year where something happens and you go, oh, this is one of those examples where, culture code blah, blah, blah could really help this person. And so, it's kind of like, hey, we're all working on this thing. We're all working to be better in the world. None of us are perfect. These are just good guardrails to help build that competency and character.
So just to be clear, we have 29 things that we've collected into what we call our culture code here. We call ourselves goats. Yep. We call it the goat deck because, as you know,
culture code.
There's a goat there.
Yep.
The goat is our logo. Mountain goats are incredibly adaptive and agile and smart.
Also, Cabrera means goat herder. So
goat.
And mountains and stuff like that. So mountains.
So the goat thing makes sense, right? Yeah. So for our culture code has 29 different things. What I want to do is
you wouldn't have to adopt all of them. You could pick and choose the ones you want.
Yeah.
But ours, again, is modular and much longer than like a typical value statement because it's modular.
Yes.
Right? And we could, it's quite possible that in 3 months we could have 30. They don't appear that quickly.
Yeah.
But when something really becomes oh, geez, we're seeing a pattern in the way people are working and we want to fix that pattern, then that might end up being a culture code item.
Yes. And also, I will say some people walk into the organization with 27 of them in order.
Totally.
They have them. They know it. They live by it. And then there's a couple.
If you were raised right, you got a bunch of them right off the bat.
Well, or if you're metacognitive and reflective of yourself.
Yes, true.
Or both.
True.
Even better. Okay. So for today's episode, I want to get through the first handful of them.
Okay.
Now, as you said, they're not in any order. Mm-hmm. So we're going to just, as the order in which they present themselves to us. The first one we're going to talk about is team. We are team first. We are team first. We are on a mission to change the world for the better. This is true. Without team, we'll not succeed. Take care of your GOAT teammates, and they'll take care of you. It's not about being right, first, or better. That's important. It's about being a team together. And what you always add into with the mountain thing is friends wait at the summit for their other friends to arrive. Teammates make it to the summit together.
Yeah, that's what my mother used to say that to us about family. She used to say, a friend will wait for you on the summit. A family will get there, and a family member will come back down and help you get there.
Yeah.
And so team is a lot like family, and being a team. I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory one. Some of them are really obvious. This one I think is pretty obvious why it's so important to be team first. And it has deep implications to identity other, that we, the Sawubona, Sakona kind of idea that, we are who we are because of others and in relation to others. And so team is like just deeply embeds that idea that we are
connected.
We can only do amazing things together.
I also think it manifests itself in things during the day where I'm not going to sit at my desk alone and work in isolation on all of my stuff, because what I'm doing should be connected and integral to the entire organization's direction. And so we want to work together, purposefully try to work together.
Absolutely. And one of our folks, Dave, is Special Forces. He always talks about, covering the clock. And I think that's another great way to think about team is like, if I say I've got, 6 o'clock, then I've got 6 o'clock, and you can depend on that. And so that's like, you can depend on other team members to do their job. The Patriots always had like literally a mission, a fantastic mission, was do your job. Mm-hmm. So if you knew that the right tackle was going to do his job, okay, I can rely on that. Then I'm going to do my job based on his job and all that kind of stuff. So it really is a lot of being able to rely on other people, and know that they're going to be where they say they're going to be.
Yeah, actually, just listening to you say that now, I think it's very possible when you hear the word team to think about, we're going to all work together. But I think it's really about reliance and trust. Totally. That's a deep ethic that you should build and take in as a member of the team. And like vest checks, we do vest checks every morning at stand up. Hey, just check in with people. How are they at? Where are they at? That kind of thing. And that's a big part of vulnerability and building trust and all that. So a lot of these other character-based codes are going to support this, what we call team first. The second one you're going to have to draw because it's 3 symbols. Yep. And I'll read it while you draw it. The dynamics of DSRP: equality, co-implication, and the eightfold simultaneity, which is equality, co-implication, eightfold simultaneity. Yep. If you know it, you know it. It's probably why you work here. If it's not, it should be. The power of this DSRP is transformative. It gives you insight, it helps you see more, it helps you discover more and experience things. The present expands horizontally, and one lives less in the past and future and more in the now. We begin to wash the glass like a baby Buddha. That's one of the things you say all the time. The everyday becomes profound, and we see the fractal nature of the universe. While it maintains its complexity, it's both simple and sublime. And we practice this every day. Yeah, and so this is just our way of saying we do systems thinking, right? I mean, we do it at a technical level, obviously, because that's like what we're all about. But this is kind of the symbology behind systems thinking and the dynamics that make systems thinking really work that you get in Blue Belt and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so
this is just saying, see things in systems. And
Yeah.
I think so much of the world right now, I mean, we could just go on and on and on about all these systems that nobody's being systemic about, and all of the problems that we're experiencing in the healthcare industry, in the food industry, in the government, in the polarization of things politically. Mm-hmm. They're all systemic issues, and all it takes is being able to see the system. And if you see the system, you're like, oh, this is insanity. What we're doing is crazy. Yeah. We have to do it differently. But if you don't see it, then you're like, oh, yeah, 56 grams of sugar in a drink? Okay. I like the drink, and you're like, no, you don't like the drink. You've been literally convinced that this is what you need by a drug dealer. Yeah. Essentially.
More like conditioned.
Like conditioned slowly, from childhood. Over time, that this is what you need by the marketing, by the taste, by the scientists that have made the taste and all that kind of stuff. Mm. And it's overriding your brain cells. And so, like, if you think systemically and you see those things, then the problems aren't as wicked and aren't as complex as they appear when you see things systemically. Yes. They're actually quite simple.
Yes, and I think this one in particular is about seeing more, but also understanding the benefits of that.
Totally.
Knowing that helps you be more present in each moment. You're seeing things as they are. And I think that this is one of the things that, we all practice.
Yeah. And this is just a deep part of our culture, right? And we're trying to make it a deep part of every organization's culture with our STEP accreditation, which is a systems thinking enabled performance for organizations. Right. We're trying to make it a professional standard with the professional systems thinker credential. This is just something that all society needs, is 8 billion systems thinkers. So this one really represents like, hey, we do what we create.
Yeah,
we practice what we preach, or we eat our own dog food, which is a later one we'll talk about. But
okay, the third thing I want to talk about: listen.
Yeah, this one's important.
Listen with more than your ears. Make your entire body and mind into a sail. Yeah. Don't listen to respond. Listen to understand. I had to work on this in my younger years. When listening to others, stop listening to the voice in your head and start listening today.
Yeah, I mean, this one is so critical. And you'll notice that all of them end with a statement about today, because it's all about, like, win this day with these things. And so don't think about, like, a year from now I'm going to learn to listen. Mm-hmm. Listen today. Yeah. Practice systems thinking today. Team first today. Right. So all of them end this way. And the whole deck is called today. Mm-hmm. But listening, man... we could talk for hours and hours and hours about listening. It is something that we're losing as a society, the ability to just listen to each other, and be curious. And like, even if somebody's saying something completely insane, like, I want to understand what they're saying before I respond to it, before I decide how I feel about it or think about it. Right. I want to understand it. Right. And this helps in so many different areas. Just with our kids, just the other day, we have teenagers, and teenagers sometimes they think very differently. And we were having an issue, and I was just like, tell me how you're thinking about this, because I don't understand this behavior. Yeah. And when he explained it, I was like, actually, like, kind of agree with him.
Makes perfect sense.
It makes total sense if you think about it in that way. Yeah. And so listening is just, I mean, it's like one of these things that you can have Michael Jordan level abilities with, but like dribbling, like Michael Jordan, like a 5-year-old can dribble a basketball, and then Michael Jordan dribbles a basketball. Well, they're both dribbling. Yeah. But one of them is like, wow. Yeah. Listening's like that. It's like, it's for our entire life. It's all the time, and you can get extremely good at it by practicing it.
Yes, I want to talk a little bit about what it looks to practice this, because this was something I actually worked on when I was younger. Because I would find myself in meetings and in other situations, and I would be listening, But as I was listening, I was formulating my response.
Totally.
And so I wasn't actually listening. I was responding, and I was listening to the voice in my head rather than the voice of the person who was speaking to me.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a big difference. And I think one of the ways you can practice better listening is to, A, slow things down, B, ask more questions of the person who's speaking before you respond to make sure you're actually understanding them.
Yes.
Right. And I also think we need to disabuse people of the idea that hearing something is listening, because they're totally different things.
Totally different.
So I would say, for me, when you say practice better listening, it's about that moment of pausing, making sure you understand, asking questions if you need to.
Yeah, and so that I mean, since you kind of opened it up a little bit, I'll go into some pet peeves. I mean, still today, many of the organizations that I've worked with that teach quote unquote listening skills, they teach these very superficial listening skills, like, you know, I statements and repeating back statements and questions. And it's like any of those things, if your intent is not to truly listen to understand, any of those things can be manipulated.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So you see beautiful non-listening by lawyers in a courtroom because they have an agenda.
Yeah.
Right? They have a specific goal in mind and an agenda. And so when they're asking questions, they're not really asking questions, right? And so many questions that are asked today are not actually questions. They're statements posing as questions. They're statements dressed up as questions.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by STSI, the Systems Thinking Standards Institute.
Yes, super excited to work with STSI, raising the standard for 8 billion systems thinkers, science-based standards, training, the professional systems thinking credential, accreditation for organizations, the systems thinking or thinker toolkit. And so I really encourage folks to go to stsi.pro, take the trainings, get the credentials, get your organization accredited, get the toolkit.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Help us get to 8 billion.
And it's a 501c3 nonprofit.
Don't forget that.
It's a great partner. Real listening is asking questions because you don't know what the answer is. You're curious about what the answer will be. You don't already have an assumption about the answer.
Yes.
That's what a real question feels like and sounds like.
Yes.
You're not boxing people into a corner. You're curiously asking in order to garner understanding.
Right. And I also think one of the flags for that is when you're a question is being posed to you and it's a forced choice.
Yes.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
These
when
are not
did you
the only
stop
options.
beating your wife? You know, and you're like, how do I answer that one, right?
Yeah. Well, or it's like, is it that you want me to do this or do that? And both of them are neither. They're not options.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a whole range of other options. And I think part of it is, like I said, slowing things down. And I will say, personally, there are moments where I am told I'm not listening. And I have trained myself in that moment to say, oh, instead of saying, yes, I am, and arguing with you, what I say is, okay, what am I not hearing? What am I missing? And then that changes the entire conversation, right? And you can do that very easily.
Yep. That's such a good example because when somebody says, I don't think you're listening, the first response that you typically hear is, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And if somebody said to me, you're not listening, I would say, can you say it again in a different way?
Yeah.
Meaning I wouldn't have much to say if I'm being told. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not listening. That person might be using that as a rhetorical and manipulative device. But if that was said to me, I would take it at face value and say, okay, can you say it again in a different way so that I can understand it? Yeah. And then I would really focus on trying to understand what they're saying. And that doesn't mean that once I've understood that what they're saying, we have a right to rip it apart or, do what. I'm not saying being passive or anything like that. I'm saying before you rip something up, before you critique it, before you have issues with it, understand it, like deeply understand it. And don't just understand it for your own kind of lawyeristic purposes.
Right.
But
shoehorn it to wherever you want it to go.
Exactly.
The other thing I think is interesting is there are times when I really think I'm listening, and I will take a moment and I will say, I am listening, but I now know that I'm not understanding. So let's go back to the beginning. Here's my understanding. What did I miss? Because you can have moments where you really are listening, but you're not quite understanding.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing too, because it's almost like we shouldn't be using the word listening for listening, because it's really really what we're talking about is understanding.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Right. So the whole point of listening is for understanding.
Right.
And if you're listening, like with your ears, this is why I say make your whole body into a sail so that it receives, like deer, they have these really big ears that are like sails, and they move them around, they articulate them so that they can pick up sounds. Well, make your body into a sail, including your ears, but everything else as well, your eyes, everything, picking up on the emotion, all that kind of stuff. And hear what the person's saying to the level of understanding them.
Yes.
Right? Because if we just go listening, sound is entering my ear. Sure. I mean, we can always claim we're listening, but we don't really mean, we're using listening as a metaphor almost.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's really about understanding. And there's so many things. I mean, and if you've ever talked to people that have been quote unquote trained in listening skills, they are obnoxious.
Oh, really? I don't think I've ever...
Yeah, they're the ones that like,
what
I hear you saying is blah, blah, blah. And you're like, if you say what I hear you saying one more time, I'm going to lose my shit. It just feels like you're being manipulated because they're using like this algorithm and you're like, you're just playing this algorithm instead of deeply connecting to what I'm saying.
Yes, it reminds me of when you're talking to an elementary school child and you ask them a question and they repeat the question as part of the answer autonomically.
Exactly.
And then it
not
makes
just in elementary school. They're doing that in college. They've been so trained.
Yeah, I just remember visiting the kids' classrooms and thinking, why are they saying the exact question back to me before they even answer it? And I think it's a technique that they've been trained.
Yeah, they've been trained to do it. You have to because you always have to answer the question by repeating the question at the front of the sentence. So they've been trained to.
Well, that's moved into conversation. Yeah, which is odd.
Yeah.
So listen is a really
it's big, and it's like a really powerful skill if you actually do it, and you have to practice it to get good at it.
Yes.
Right. We kind of assume like either you're a good listener, bad listener. Kind of. No.
Yeah.
You're not. Nobody is born being a great basketball player.
Right.
Nobody. You have to practice. And even the greatest of the greatest do a ton of practice, and they practice the fundamentals. And so a lot of these things we're talking about, they're just deeply fundamental.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we think that because they're so basic, you kind of learn them and you're like, I got this.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you don't. You should practice this your whole life.
Yeah.
Every one of us should be practicing this our whole lives.
Yeah.
Because it's a basic. And basic means it's basic. Basic means it's basic. Basic means not that it's easy.
No.
It means it's basic. It means it's almost in everything.
It's foundational.
It's foundational.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was saying at the beginning, the whole personal thing, listening.
Yeah.
If you think about the problems you're having at work, the problems you're having at home, I would bet you a huge percentage of those because you're not actually able to listen.
Right, which means understand. Right?
Understand.
Which is why it combines with the systems thinking aspect.
Yeah.
And being able to see and understand things at a deep level, at a systemic level. So these things kind of interact with each other like Legos. They're modular.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is evolve.
Yeah.
And evolve means change as a result of challenge. It means we love and seek out feedback to get better every day. Don't get stuck in the way you are, the way you've always done things, or the way it is. You can change. You always have agency to evolve. So embrace radical incrementalism. Evolve today.
Evolve today.
So maybe radical incrementalism.
Yeah, I mean, if you've watched the podcast, you know that I'm a big fan of the science behind evolution. I would just think it's one of the most remarkable theories in human history. We can learn so much from it, and it applies to so many different things, not just like biological evolution, but our daily evolution. Our ability to adapt to situations on a daily basis is the definition of smart, and adaptation is the crux of evolving.
Yeah.
Evolution happens in increments, many, many, many increments. And so radical incrementalism, getting better every day in tiny steps, is often the way to succeeding at this concept, at evolving.
Right, and I think a lot of us get stuck because we believe big change has to happen all at once.
Yeah.
And so it's almost, I'm thinking hedge, but it's probably not a hedge. It's like a barrier. We think we have to do everything all at once. And one of the things you sort of trained me to think about is, are you making progress every day?
Yeah, there's actually in geology a concept for this. In the old days, people used to believe that when they saw a huge thing, a big thing like the Grand Canyon, they would assume so that the Grand Canyon is the effect. It's a big effect. How did this thing form?
Right.
Well, we assume that if it's this really big effect, that it must have this really big cause. So we're like, oh, it must be some catastrophic event. A huge tidal wave formed it all at once. And we used to believe that in the old days, like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We kind of believed as a society that big effects had big causes.
Right.
And we now know that although that can be true, it's often not the case. What these big changes happen through incrementalism.
Yes.
So, it took you 10 years to gain the weight. It's going to take you at least a few to lose it. Right? It's not, you're not going to, but we get into this mode. I'm going to starve myself for this long. And then you have the rebound and all this kind of stuff. It's daily incremental evolution, and you got to change your habits.
Yeah.
You got to change your relationship to food, for example, or your relationship to movement, and you got to do it every day. And if you fall off the horse on one day, get back on the horse and do it, succeed the next day, because today's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Being in that mindset of evolve,
Yeah.
I can change, and the way to change is through challenge. So challenge of any kind is an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, and also knowing that incremental eventually will add up to, I think that's a very helpful mindset to have.
It'll always add up.
Yeah.
And it'll add up in a much bigger way than trying to do it all at once. You can't eat the elephant all at once.
No, I don't think an elephant would taste good.
No, I don't mean that like literally as a protein.
No, but I'm just saying. I don't think it would taste very good.
No.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Be a light.
Oh, yeah.
Be a light doesn't mean be positive, because sometimes things aren't positive. Also, not everything should be characterized as good or bad. It means be a beacon of hope for people. Help them in a way they need it, because you can't always give them what they want, but you can usually give them what they need. So go and be a light for someone today.
Yeah, I just think this is a super important thing. Like, the world needs more lights, in people. And again, it's about the other. It's about being a light for other people. And again, like Slider says, or the code says, it's kind of, it's not, people misinterpret this as like, oh, be positive. It's not like always being positive. It's about being a light in darkness and showing people the way and helping people to improve and follow some of these ideas. So I don't know. This one's kind of just like a disposition
to
help others and to be an example and to be a light when there's, especially when there's not a lot of lights, if you're in a situation where there's not a lot of lights.
Yeah. I remember when we were hiking in Italy, I had one day that was very difficult for me, and the whole group rallied around me, and they all were like, you got this, and they got me over it. They got me through it.
The exposure day.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
terrified of heights, it turns out.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, I mean, that was a moment where they were all being a light for me in a place where I was completely overwhelmed, feeling terrified, hopeless, all of the negative things you can think of. So it manifests itself well.
I agree.
Okay, Our final one for today is a good
fast.
one, and this is one we talk a lot about with our kids. It's be curious, right?
Yeah.
And being curious means caring what people think, caring what exists, and wanting to know. It's at the root of caring, because to be curious is to care enough to want to know.
Yeah.
Without curiosity, there is no caring, so be curious today.
Yeah, sometimes I go so far as to say, and I mean, this is a big statement coming from me, but I go so far as to say, and we say this to our students all the time, like if I can't get you to be curious, then everything else that we have to teach you is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like, curious is the first step in many ways. Being curious is the first step. Asking questions, real questions.
Yeah.
Because if you're not curious, like if you don't want to know, there's no impetus, there's no motive to find things out, to go beyond the mental model that you currently have, right? If you have a mental model and you're just totally okay with it,
Yeah.
and you're not like, what lies beyond this? Question mark? Like,
Yeah.
if you don't have that curiosity, you're never going to explore the boundary. You're never gonna go outside the box.
Right.
Right? And there's always a box or a boundary. And so curiosity is kind of like one of these things, like if we don't develop it in people, then the systems that you're in charge of, you're never going to make them better. You're never going to be curious about how they could be better, right? Like in an organizational sense.
Yeah.
The ways that you've been doing things, you're never going to question whether, is there a better way to do this? Is there an alternative way to do this?
You're never going to invent anything.
You're never going to innovate. I mean, curiosity is like this weird motive. Sometimes I talk about the Vitruvian man, or the Vitruvian person, or the Vitruvian self. And to me, that means hitting on all the dimensions of what it means to be human. Because what makes us most happy is when we express ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And there's lots of dimensions of human dimensions that we want to express ourselves on. We all need and want, even if it's hidden, to express ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally. And there's another one that we miss a lot, which I call motivationally.
Yeah.
And what I mean by motivationally, a lot of people think motivationally is like, what motivates me.
Right.
But the way we should really think about motivation is what causes me to move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Motive.
Yeah.
Motility, right? What causes me? What is the animus that causes me to move? That's what I mean by the dimension of motivation. And curiosity is one of the best animus to cause us to move.
Yeah.
I mean, think of the amazing things that have been discovered just purely based on curiosity.
Well, most things.
Yeah, like everything. Everything that's ever been discovered, is almost always some kind of curiosity.
Yeah.
And so if we don't build this in our children, if we don't build this in our generations, if we don't build this in ourselves, if it's not part of our character to be deeply curious about things, I don't know how we get movement. And we're missing this huge dimension of ourselves, which is what causes me to move. What is the thing? And if the only thing that causes you to move is money, for example, you should look in the mirror on that one and say, boy, money is one reason to move.
Yeah.
Right? One motivator.
Yeah.
But there should be more. There should be more than just that in my life. Right? Or if the only motivator is making other people happy, that's one motivator, but there should be more. You should get dimensional in your motivational aspect of Vitruvian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think part of what I think about as we talk about this is, many times our children early on, they're not anymore in this space, didn't realize they could actually go beyond the initial question that was asked of them.
Totally.
That they could go find other sources of information, follow something as far as they wanted. Their knowledge was not limited.
Yeah.
it's completely maximized by their level of curiosity. And I think they've all, outgrown that. I mean, now they have that, they possess that. But I think for younger kids,
it's hard.
They don't realize that
there was a point
no limits.
when Lena was young, she said, I wish I could learn about something. I forget what it was. And I said, why can't you learn about that something? And she said, well, I can't find a class on it. And she was a very good student and everything. And I said, you can learn things that there's no class for. You can go find a book. You can talk to people that are good at it. You can get out in the world and learn it yourself. Like there's all kinds of ways, if you're curious, that you can learn whatever you want to learn about whatever you want to learn about. And I think some of the systems that we have in place actually anti-teach this.
Yes.
They decrease curiosity, that they don't increase it. And I'm not sure people understand how deeply important curiosity is if you don't understand it in that motility paradigm.
Yes.
It is a motility paradigm.
Right.
That's what curiosity gets us.
Yes.
And it's just one of the most important things in the world.
Yeah, and you think about some of the most successful people in history were curious about one thing, and they took it as far as they could take it and invented fields, invented completely. All kinds of stuff, innovated things. So I think it's
pretty much everything I've done in my life has been the motility of curiosity, just being curious, and then you, because you're curious, you find out things, and then it turns out other people are also interested in those things, right? But like that wasn't the thing that motivated me. The thing that motivated me was curiosity.
Yeah,
I was just like, I want to know what's there. I want to know what's over the rise.
Yeah.
So a really important. Again, this is like. These are character. These are qualitative. They're so deeply basic, and I don't think we develop them enough. Like I don't think we think about how do we develop the basic motive of curiosity in people.
I think that's right. I also think, just looking back at the ones we've already talked about, I'm not sure that they're part of the regular conversation, especially with kids.
No.
We don't.
They should be.
Yeah, and they should be. We don't talk about the value of or train kids on what we mean by listen with your whole self. We don't.
Totally.
Those things, unfortunately, usually come up in response to a perceived shortcoming.
Yes.
They're not proactive.
Yeah, you need
to
listen.
Yeah,
you need to listen to me.
Right.
That's not what we mean.
Right. So I would shout. I mean, for years we've had sort of a culture code for our family. We've had. This is now the code. All these things. I would challenge people to just ask themselves, what are the central tenets that I believe, that I want my children to believe, that will develop their character to the kind of people they, know. I don't think it's part of the conversation. If you think what's in the sort of wider dialogue in society, it's not about these kinds of things.
No, it's not. And you see that they interact with each other. That's the part, the dynamicism between them. That's why I keep saying they're modular. They're like Lego blocks. You can build whole worlds with these things.
Yes.
When they start interacting, because you see that, like, I can't be curious, or rather, like, I can't listen and really deeply seek to understand unless I'm curious.
Right.
I can't be if I'm curious, but I don't have systems thinking skills. I don't have the skills to navigate the world of complexity that's involved.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm also not able to listen, then I can't even listen to reality and hear the things that reality's telling me, because listening isn't just to words and people. It's listening to nature and listening to reality. What is the feedback reality's trying to give me?
Yeah.
So you start to see these things. It's like if you work on dribbling and you work on shooting and you work on passing, somehow the emergent property of being really good at all those things is you're really good at basketball.
Right.
You know what I mean?
These things are.
And that's how these things are. Yeah.
So we can't do all of them at once in one episode.
No.
So that was just a handful. And then we'll do another handful next episode.
Yeah.
Until we get through them, because I think they're highly proportional.
Yep.
Incredibly applicable.
Yep.
And they're easy. They're easy to sort of connect.
Easy to understand and easy to practice, but you just got to be committed to practicing them. But what else are you doing? Yeah. Like what else are you practicing that's more important than listening?
Yeah.
What else are you practicing that's more important than being curious?
Another way to
Seeing
think
the
about
world the way it is.
Another way to think about it?
Yeah.
What else could you practice that would have such a huge effect in your life?
Better way to think about it, yeah.
Other than these kinds of things.
These are going to have a huge effect on your life.
All right.
Well, that's a wrap for now.